I'm going to show you a demonstration on how to swaddle a baby. And you notice that I have a baby blanket, much like the ones that we find in the hospitals. I don't have all of it in the picture, so I'm just going to spin to the right and to the left. You know, my countertop isn't big enough to hold the whole blanket flat, so you can see at least what we're starting with. So I'm going to start now with this blanket, and it's laid in a diagonal position. I'm going to put this top diagonal or top point down slightly, just big enough that my hand can be here. Okay, and now I'm going to take my little sweet baby. Can you see my baby girl? How sweet she is. You'll all have to help me find a name for her. I'm going to put her head right here where my hand was. Now you notice I'm not putting her head up here. I'm putting it right in the middle here so that she has a little bit around her head right here. Okay, I'm just going to check position here just one moment. Yes, I think you can see that. Okay, now notice that her hands are flexed and her feet are flexed. Now a newborn baby is going to be maybe something like this, maybe something like this, but they're never going to just have their hands stretched out flat. They're going to have their feet a little bit flexed. So we don't want to wrap her up with her hands down, or even with her hands like this. That would not be comfortable. That would be very frustrating to have your hands bound down to you like that. The whole reason that babies like to be swaddled is because it makes them feel like they're back in their mother's womb. This is a transitional thing. Once they have transitioned into life on earth, they will gradually not need to be swaddled anymore. So we're helping her to feel comfortable, to feel like she's back in her mother's womb. So we want her hands to be up here because that's where she would be if she was in her mother's womb. Okay, so we started out here on the triangle with her head here. Now I'm going to bring up the bottom, and I want this bottom part to touch her feet because I want her to feel like she's in that tight spot that she was in the womb. So when she kicks, she's going to have some resistance. Now, a normal baby would not be quite this big, so you're probably going to have some extra blanket right here. If you do, just fold it down like this. Fold it down however much you have to fold it down, just so it's out of the way of the baby's face. It can be up this high, but it just needs to not be on her face. In this case, I'm going to leave it like this because she's a big baby. She doesn't need it folded down. Okay, now we have a point here and a point here. I'm going to use those points, and I'm going to take this point that's opposite me. I'm going to put her hand. Normally, remember this, in a newborn baby, her hands are going to be flexed anyway. So I'm just going to help her by putting her hand inside this fold, and I'm going to take this point and bring it down to her chest like that. Now, once I get my fingers here, I'm going to let go of baby's hand, and I'm going to keep my fingers here. I'm going to take my right hand, put it under here, and just make a little tuck, lifting up my finger on my left hand to hold this in place. And don't worry about her face right now. We will adjust it around her face when we're finished. Still holding here now. I'm going to take this blanket and bring it towards me. Now, in this case, I'm going to have to move her arm out of the way because she's not a real baby, but normally her hands are going to be up. You shouldn't have that problem. But I'm holding here. I'm going to bring this towards me, snug, and down to the bed. Once I get to the bed, I'm going to keep my hand here. Notice how snug this is. Now I can let go here, and keeping my hand here, I'm going to pick up, I don't know if you can see it, I'm picking up this corner, and I'm going to hold the corner, hold it, and tuck. Okay, just hold and tuck. Now that's the first tuck right there. Now we have this corner of the blanket. We're going to take her hand, and normally, again, her hand is going to be up like this. So I'm going to usually put my fingers in between her cheek and her hand, just so that I can tuck her hand inside this fold when I come down to her chest. And so I'm going to come down to her chest, holding here with my thumb. Now I can let go, and I'm just going to fix her hand to where it would normally be. It's going to be inside there, where she wants it, but it's going to be covered. So her hand is up, but covered. Notice my thumb is right here. Now I'm going to take my right hand, lift that up, make a little tuck, lift up my thumb, hold. I just lifted up my thumb just to hold that down. Now this time, instead of coming towards me with the blanket, I'm going away from me, And when I get, and again, I'm keeping it snug, when I get it this far, I'm gonna now lift up my thumb, hold. Now I can let go with my right hand and wrap it around. Okay? Now that's the first wrap. The second wrap is going to be the same way. The only difference is that her hands are already in and her feet are already in. And if we need to, we can always move this around her face a little bit. If you're, concerned that her face might be a little bit too close to the blanket, you can just move that around. So we always wrap twice, because if you don't, she will squirm out of this. And the other reason we wrap twice is just to keep her extra warm. Babies do need to be nice and warm. We don't want them to have to generate their own body heat to stay warm right after they've been born. Okay, so second blanket, same thing. Only difference is her hands and her feet are inside. You're going to bring that corner down here, do the same thing. Bring the corner here, do the same thing. You can just replay this video, but in another video, I will also show you how to do it on a second wrap.